have some bad news that you're probably not using your tuner the best way or the most correct way. My name is Josh Gu, and after years of studying the clarinet with some of the best teachers from around the world, I am excited to be sharing my knowledge with you. So go to QuickStartClarinet.com or check the description on this video to see all of the wonderful resources I have to help you reach your clarinet dreams. And of course, subscribe to this channel for weekly clarinet and music tips and tricks. I have found that there's kind of a lot of misconceptions about how to use a tuner or what the purpose of a tuner is. Whether you're somebody who just pulls out your tuner during the tuning note with the ensemble and that's pretty much all you use it for, or if you're somebody who leaves it on your stand all of the time and just stares at it while you're practicing, or even while you're performing, that's even worse. All of those ways are just not really the best use of the tuner. So in this video, I'm going to explain a little bit about why we use tuners, and hopefully that will help you to understand how to get the most out of it and how to use your tuner the most appropriately. So the whole point of a tuner is to help with intonation. So let me explain what intonation is a little bit here first. Intonation is playing in tune or not in tune, but it's much more complicated and nuanced than your tuner might imply. When we look at the tuner, it says we're flat or we're sharp, and then we're in tune, and that's great. For woodwind instruments especially, but really for all instruments, there's a little bit more nuance to that, to playing actually truly in tune. You can't just rely with, okay, my tuner says I'm in tune, so I'm good. That's correct. That can be really frustrating, especially in performance or just in an ensemble or rehearsal type situation where somebody is playing with their tuner and they're sticking with that no matter what. It can be really hard to actually match that, and they can actually end up sounding out of tune, because if the whole group is playing 10 cents sharp but one person is playing dead on in tune, then they're going to sound wrong, because they're actually going to sound 10 cents flat compared to the rest of the group. So it's really, really important that you're using your tuner to help you to play in tune and work on intonation. So the two big factors for intonation that I think are the most important to be working on is being able to hear what in tune is, and hear and match other pitches, and hear and play intervals against other people and match those in tune. And then the second most important thing is to have the flexibility to adjust your pitch. So if the whole group is playing 10 cents sharp, whether that's pushing in your barrel or just working to bring the pitch up for yourself, whatever it takes to match that, and having the flexibility to place your pitches wherever they need to be given the context of the group that you're playing in or the other people you're playing with, or just even if you're playing with yourself. Some intervals might want to be a little bit different. So it's really important to hear and know where you need to be, and then have the flexibility to be able to hit it. And this is a perfect example why sometimes perfect pitch can actually be a detriment to intonation, because if you have really good perfect pitch and you can hear and know right where in tune is, and then you're playing with a group that's all playing 10 cents sharp, it's going to drive you crazy, because everybody's going to sound 10 cents sharp. But in order for you to play convincingly with that group, you also have to play 10 cents sharp. So it's going to feel like you're playing out of tune to yourself if you have really good perfect pitch. But that's the name of the game, and that's what you have to do in order to sound good with those kinds of groups. So now that I've done my ranting on how people are using the tuner incorrectly and why intonation is so complicated and nuanced, let's talk about how to actually use it properly. So the first thing to do is going to be to get a tuner. I highly recommend the Tonal Energy app. It's a fantastic app. It does cost a few dollars, and there are free ones that you can get that work pretty well. Tonal Energy, though, is absolutely worth the price. It does so much more than just a regular old tuner. There's also a metronome in there. It's not my favorite metronome, but the tuner is fantastic. It has drones where it can play pitches for you. It has all kinds of sound analysis that's really fantastic. You can record yourself in there. There's tons of benefits, and it's absolutely worth the price. And it also gives you a little smiley face when you play in tune, so that's probably worth the price on its own. So getting a tuner is the first step. Now, What we don't want to do with the tuner, which I kind of already mentioned, is we don't want to be looking at the tuner, staring at it every time that we're playing every single note, and trying to be perfectly in tune every note. That's a good way to drive yourself crazy. Maybe it builds a bit of flexibility, and it's sometimes good to sort of test, but staring at it all the time is going to drive you crazy. The other really important part or common mistake that gets made is to not equate the tuner giving you a smiley face with you actually sounding good. Sound quality and intonation are a little bit different. You can be technically in tune with the tuner, but you can sound terrible. So let me demonstrate these little things so you can sort of get a sense. So the first thing I'm going to do is play a scale, and hopefully you'll be able to see my tuner on the screen. And I just want to show you that even for me, even when I'm trying to play really nice and sound great, the pitch varies from note to note a bit, and that's okay. Yes, we do want to be able to place every note perfectly in tune, but I just want to show you and demonstrate that it's also okay and completely normal for your notes to not land dead center every time. So you can see it takes some adjusting to actually get to in tune and find that on each note. It's not just automatic and perfect every time. The other thing I want to demonstrate is actually playing in tune but sounding bad. So let me try that. So you can see I got the big smiley face, but the sound was really thin. It was a little bit shaky, a little bit airy. It wasn't a good, clear, resonant sound. So you have to sound good, and you can't just trust that the tuner is going to tell you that you're sounding good or not. So if we think about the two most important things for intonation, hearing the pitches really well and flexibility, we can work on that on the tuner. So the first thing is flexibility, and you could see even when I was playing the scale, I was working on flexibility a bit, where I was moving the pitches around to be in tune, and that's a perfect exercise to actually work on with your tuner. So instead of just aiming for dead center, try to bend the pitch around as much as you can. On clarinet, this definitely works better on the higher range of the instrument, so I'm going to demonstrate this on a G right at the top of the staff. The clarinet tends to come in sharp and then sort of settle, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to start as sharp as I can, and then I'm going to bend the pitch down as low as I can, trying to keep a pretty good sound the whole time, as best of sound as I can. So I'm going to do that again, starting sharp and then bringing the pitch down as low as I can, and then actually bringing it back up to in tune so I can practice playing in tune. And then now I'm going to try just starting in tune. Not bad, not bad. So you can see how with that exercise you build the flexibility. You can move the pitch around and be in control so that you can place the pitch wherever you need to. The one other sort of thing to be thinking about with that exercise is try to move the pitch down as steadily and gradually as you can. If you're sort of jumping down really quickly, that doesn't mean that you necessarily have control. The more gradually you can move it down cent by cent and then back up cent by cent, the more control you have to place it at wherever you need to within that. I also want to say that I think we tend to make intonation a little bit more black and white, and yes, it is a little bit more objective rather than subjective. Two people playing out of tune is out of tune, but there is some sort of tolerance for how much out of tune sounds bad. If you're 1 or 2 cents off, that's going to be barely noticeable. Even up to 5 cents is not really the end of the world. Obviously, perfect is better than 5 cents sharp or flat. But if you can keep it really controlled within 2 or 3 cents especially, then you're actually in pretty good shape. So you don't have to be totally perfect. And you can see it, there's so much variability to it that it's a little bit unrealistic to try and be perfect every single time on every single note. Now going on to the other part that's maybe even more important is hearing the pitches, and this is probably my favorite aspect of the Tonal Energy app, is we have this sort of sound wheel where it will play pitches for you. So we could put on a B flat and you can hear a perfectly in tune B flat, and then you can try to match it. And you can work on your flexibility matching so you can hear when it's sharp and hear when it's flat. So do the same flexibility exercise but with the drone. So you can hear how when it's sharp, it sounds a certain way. When it's flat, it sounds a different way. And we can find that sort of sweet spot where the little waves and conflict goes away and we're perfectly in tune with the drone. So that is one of the best exercises for working on intonation and building the hearing so that you can hear when it's in tune or out of tune, and also building the flexibility so that you can adjust and place your pitches wherever you need to. So I hope this has given you some sort of food for thought on how to get the most out of your tuner and how to actually really properly use the tuner. I think it's a really important skill, and it's really important to not kill yourself trying to be perfectly dead on every time. You could see when I played the scale that I was able to get it to a smiley face, but I wasn't just naturally hitting that right off the bat, and it takes that flexibility and it takes that bit of ear training to know where the next note in the scale is. One just quick bonus tip about intonation in general, it's not really related to the tuner, but with intonation in general, if you can get good at singing and controlling the pitch of your voice and hearing a major scale while you sing and be able to sing a major scale pretty darn close to in tune, then that's going to also give you a lot of benefit when it comes to hearing pitches and playing in tune. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you start getting more out of your tuner now and more benefit from your tuner in terms of actually learning intonation rather than just driving yourself crazy trying to always hit it dead center. So thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in another one.